Alright, in this video we're going to be looking at how we can add and subtract fractions. Okay, so previously we've looked at how we can simplify and we can compare them. Now we want to see if we can actually add and subtract fractions together. So what we'll be learning in this lesson is how to add and subtract, and also if you have an uncommon denominator, how we can find the LCD and get a reasonable answer from that. So let's look at a basic example first. So here we have over here an addition and subtraction sum or fraction, and they've both got a common denominator. So it's actually quite simple when we picture it like this. So if we have 3 over 7 plus 2 over 7, it's just a simpler matter of adding the numerators together. The denominators are the same, so they remain as is. So it's just adding the numerators. So here our answer is obviously 5 over 7. So 3 plus 2 equals 5. The denominators stay the same. And the same is with where subtracting as well. So here we just do the numerator first. So we have 3 minus 2, which equals 1, and the denominators don't change at all. So when we're just adding and subtracting fractions with the same denominator, it's quite easy. We just do the numerator. But what happens if we get a question where the denominator is actually different? It's harder then to really work out how that does. So let's put an example up here on the board. So I'm going to do 2 over 3 plus, let's say, 3 over 4. Okay, so there's my example there. I've got two fractions. I want to add them together, but I notice that they have different denominators. So what we need to do is first, we need to make sure, as we've done before, we need to find the LCD, or the lowest common denominator, because we need to change this until our denominators are the same. So we can't add fractions, we can't subtract fractions unless the denominator is the same. So the way that we do that again is trying to find the lowest common denominator. So I want to find the common multiple between these two numbers. I know just that this will be 12, so in this case it will be 3 times 4. Whatever I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. Okay, and this side, to get to 12, I need to times this by 3. Whatever I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. So I now have a new fraction of, so I have 8 over 12 plus 9 over 12. Okay, so now that I have this fraction where the denominators are the same, I can simply do as I did over here and just add these two fractions together. So what I have here is 8 plus 9, which gives me 17, and the denominators stay the same. So what we have here is an improper fraction. You can convert that to a mixed fraction. Is probably the best thing to do. So 17 goes into 12 once, so I have one whole number with 5 left over, and I'll have my fraction or denominator of 12. So that's how you add fractions with an uncommon denominator. So you need to find the LCD, make sure they have the same denominator, and then you simply add that process, and always simplifying at the end. I'm going to quickly pause this and I'm going to write a subtraction question, and we'll see if we can do the same for that. Okay, so now I have a subtraction question with two fractions, and as you can see, the denominators are different. So I go through the same process as I would with addition. So what I need to do is get these denominators to be the same. Now I know that 5 and 10, they are pretty similar, so all I need to do in this equation is to get this number to 10, and I can do that by multiplying this by 2 and this by 2. Now for the sake of argument, you could make sure that you multiply these by 1, but I know that will equal 7 over 10 minus 2 over 10. So now I have the same common denominator, so I can simply go through the process and subtract from here, subtract the numerator. So 7 minus 2 equals 5 over 10. And remember, you should always put your answer in simplified form or simplest form, which this would break down to a half. So that's how you add and subtract, and make sure that you find that lowest common denominator. We're going to quickly do an example as if we have mixed numbers. So we have a whole number and a fraction. I'll quickly show you how we do that. So what we have here is a question with two mixed numbers, and we're going to add these together. Now it sort of takes a different process here when we have mixed numbers. And what you want to do is you sort of want to separate the whole numbers into their own equation, so then you can just focus on the fraction and then add them together. So basically all you can do is separate the two whole numbers. So 4 plus 6, as your 4 plus 2, equals 6. Okay, so now I have my whole number. That means I can just focus now on just doing the fraction part. So I have 6 plus 5 over 6 plus 3 over 4. So I can just focus on this part now and I'll add my 6 down the other side. So again, I'll write the fraction here. Okay, so what we need to do is again make sure we have the common denominator. I know that these two have their lowest common multiple is 12, so I just times this by 2, and this side here by 3 will give me a new fraction of 10 over 12 plus 9 over 12. I can then add them together. So I have 10 plus 9 is 19 over 12. Now remember, I have my 6, my whole number of 6 over here. So I can bring this down now. So I have 6, the whole number of 6 with 19 over 12. Now again, this is improper fraction, so I want to add this now, make this a mixed number. So 19 over 12 becomes 1 with 7 over 12, and I want to add my 6 again. So effectively the answer is 7 and 7/12. So when you're doing mixed numbers, make sure you just separate the fraction part and the whole number part. You can add the whole numbers together, add the fractions together, and make sure you combine them at the end to get your answer there. So that's how you add and subtract fractions with uncommon denominator, and also how you add and subtract fractions which are mixed numbers.